PSA Games. I'm Brandon. I am the producer, director, programmer, graphic artist, etc., yada yada yada, for how I learned to stop worrying and enjoy the end of the world. So I'm going to do another little pixel art video here. So what you see before you, so there's a species in my game. They're the incubi. I assume that is the plural of incubus. Anyways, they're basically sex demons from Saturn. And this particular one here, actually, he's kind of like a boss of them, I guess. He's a boss. He's bigger than the other ones, basically. And you fight this guy in the Bates Mansion if you're either fortunate or unfortunate enough to encounter him. So this is what he starts off looking like. And of course, as you damage him, he changes. But eventually, he goes all fucking weird and Lovecraft on us. This is what I'm working on right now, so I'm basically polishing all this shit out. Actually, you know what? I should probably show you the frame right before that one. Here we go. Let's go ahead and show you that one. So eventually, he loses his body. Oh, come on, I'm pushing. Fuck. Alright. And I base these incubus creatures off of things I really saw out of body. Not necessarily off the aliens from the Alien movie or that franchise, but I figured, well, since I kind of sort of indirectly borrowing from them, why not borrow it even further? So this thing comes out of this tongue. This tongue is like its own creature in of itself, and I thought it was a hilarious thing to have him flip off the player, and he's like, fuck you, dude. Reason being, you basically, if you enter the torture room, as I stated before, this creature's preparing to basically, molest or rape this girl or whatever, and you're there to intervene and save her. Don't get any funny ideas. She doesn't become your girlfriend or anything like that, but if you do save her, she might become your sidekick's girlfriend. All the more reason to save her ass, because you want your buddy have a girlfriend too, right? I mean, the main character technically has one, even though she's kind of there she is, snake woman. Ha 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 ha. Alright, so let's get onto this pixel art here. So let's see where I left off. Basically, I was clearing out a lot of this stuff. Alright. I think what I need to do next here is something like this. So basically, I'm just ironing out some details with this. Isn't this fun? You like hanging out with me and seeing pixel art and shit? That's what you want to do with your life, right? You don't want to grow your own food or anything like that? Uh-oh, hold on. I fucked up. That's what I love about pixel art. If you do fuck up, it's all good, man. Easy fix. You just hit undo a couple of times, and all of a sudden all your problems are gone. Let's see here. Let's see, I should probably rant and rave about some other aspects of my game. What have I not ranted and raved about before regarding the game? So the monsters in my game. Maybe I should talk about the monsters themselves. My original concept of the game is based off of the whole COVID, Great Reset, New World Order, Agenda 21 fucking thing. And I don't know if you're familiar with that at all or not, but it is a thing. There are definitely people in power who are rich, etc. And yeah, they do kind of plot against us. And my original idea was to have the player have to contend with them and, basically the COVID outbreak itself. But then I realized that, I can't have the player going around fighting viruses. Not only would that not be as fun, but, how would I depict viruses on screen anyways? I mean, they're fucking microscopic, right? Hold on. They're microscopic, so I can't make them an enemy. So I come up with this little plot point where basically the people in power, they're Saturn worshippers. They worship Saturn. So as a means to help depopulate the Earth, they summon their little demon butt buddy friends from Saturn to the Earth, and that is the primary creatures you fight, and that's what this thing is. In fact, that's also what the creatures from Hellraiser are, I think, technically. I could be wrong about that. Maybe I'm just daydreaming and making this stupid shit up, but I'm pretty sure they're Saturnalian in nature. Anyways, I guess that means I should probably talk about the Saturnalian, I don't know if you want to call it a religion, I guess. It's like it is and it isn't. Anyways, from what I've gathered so far, the people who worship Saturn have this philosophy of our existence is pointless without pain and suffering. And that pain and suffering exists and is a part of our lives for a good reason, and that reason is that pain and suffering teach us things. They help us become more spiritually complete. I hate to go all like weird and religious on us, but there are people who believe this fucking shit, and I don't know, they almost have me convinced. I don't really like pain and suffering myself too much. Really don't. But I also understand that a part of the reason why I became who I am is through, guess what? Pain and suffering. I used to complain about it a lot, but now it's like, well, maybe I should not fight it so much. Maybe I should accept it for what it is. You know what I mean? Why fight the inevitable? I mean, we have physical bodies in this place, and those bodies are susceptible to fucking pain and shit. So it's like, instead of fighting and bitching about it, you know, why not accept it for what it is? And so like Tool, they have that song Parable and Parabola, and those songs talk about, you know, we are eternal love, pain is an illusion. And it's like I'm starting to kind of understand, god damn it, I'm starting to understand that concept a little bit. It's taken me most of my life to fucking figure this dumb shit out, unfortunately. Wish I could make a fucking time machine and go visit my younger self and tell him, hey buddy, this is what's up, this is what's going on, pay attention or I'll slap you in the fucking face. And maybe my life would be better for it. I don't know, maybe it wouldn't be. Maybe everything happens for a fucking reason. Alright. Oh, come on, really? This is the only thing I don't like about doing this pixel art, and it has to do with Microsoft Paint itself, but I don't even know if other pixel art programs are even free of this. It has to do with, I'm zoomed in, like I'm zoomed in, almost, okay, now I'm zoomed in more. It's not going to change anything, really. I'm zoomed in about as far as I can go, and I'm still going to misplace pixels like every fucking time I turn around. And that just makes something, it just makes it way more tedious than it probably needs to be. And that's the only thing about this whole process that fucking messes with me, as it were. I mean, really, Bill Gates, I don't know who you put in charge of Microsoft Paint. I don't know if you had a hand in it or not. If you put some other fucking college degenerate in fucking charge, but I mean, come on, you really could not come up with the simple idea of maybe allowing one to zoom in, oh, I don't know, even just one more increment. Just one more increment would nip this whole fucking problem in the butt. Just get rid of it forever. But you couldn't do that. That probably would have taken you maybe another hour at best. Really, you couldn't spend another hour to perfect something. Yet you expect to make vast sums of money off of this stupid bullshit, really? Am I understanding that correctly? Am I understanding that correctly? Yeah, sorry, it's kind of a complicated... So basically what I did is I took the pre-existing image. Oh, he's flipping you off, by the way. Check it out. He's telling the player, fuck you, because you're ruining his fun. Anyways, god damn it, what was I talking about? Yeah, I get on these tangents sometimes, and probably not good in the long run. Shit. See how easy it is to misplace a fucking pixel? It's just way too fucking easy. Anyways. Fun stuff, huh? How'd you like to do this 24/7? How would you like to do this in the same room as I? And listen to my various fucking rantings and ravings. Yeah, let's see here. Okay. I don't understand how I can only click once in one spot, but it will take out 2 spots. I don't fucking understand that. I don't understand a lot of things. But I also understand a great deal of other things. Maybe I'm in the wrong fucking field. Maybe I should be one of those people who's going out there giving lectures trying to wake people the fuck up. Maybe. I'd probably be good at it, but I'd also find that equally frustrating. Because there's always those people you're not going to be able to wake up. And you can tell a person all day long the reasons to not watch TV and pay attention to mainstream media, etc. Not going to do a damn bit of good if, you know, that is what their life centers around. And unfortunately, that is a huge part of most people's existence here. Without TV, they'd be nothing. And I find that to be a little sad and alarming. There we go. See, I love it when a person is something of a budding artist and they something to the tune of, well, I can't even draw a straight line. It's like, I don't know if that's what art's about. Please name for me all of the straight lines that exist in famous works of art. I don't think there's any straight lines. I mean, there's probably a few, but they're probably the least important fucking thing in the world. Honestly, yeah. Budding artists, don't worry about if you can draw a straight fucking line or not. It is literally the least of your fucking worries. You should be more worried about composition, movement, color harmonies, etc. That is probably where your focus should be. I know plenty of great artists whose artwork is completely devoid of what we would consider perfection. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of Jackson Pollock or anything, but I do understand his artwork. And it's just literally a guy flinging paint around in a drunken stupor. And you know what? That's actually fine. There's actually nothing wrong with that. Actually, a lot of his artwork has a lot of great movement to it, and that's really important. You don't want the eye to rest in just one place on a painting. That is actually bad. That is where Hitler actually fucked up. Did you know Adolf Hitler, he tried to be an artist? Unbelievable, right? But he made some beginner mistakes and didn't learn from those mistakes. And that mistake was he would, let's say, paint a house, for example. And instead of obeying rule of thirds and recognizing composition, he just stick that house smack in the fucking middle of the piece. I mean, yeah, the house would look realistic and all that stuff. But that's not what art's about. It's not about that, unfortunately. And yeah, I mean, the house would look realistic, but you couldn't look at it and say, well, this is a piece of artwork. You couldn't, because your eyes wouldn't move about the canvas like they should. Instead, they would go right to the house that's in the middle and not move anywhere else. So the viewer would be basically looking at it, only seeing the house and not being able to actually take in the rest of the composition at all. And that's an example of bad artwork. You can make something realistic, but if it isn't properly composed and doesn't make your eyes naturally move about in a certain way, then you're done wasted your time. Yeah, I learned this from, I want to say I attended art school, which is kind of a dangerous thing in of itself, but I mean, it was and it wasn't. I studied with Yvonne Lewis. She taught classes out of her home, which was a barn, by the way. They counted as college credits through Garden City Community College, but her classes were really small. Mostly consisted of, like, seriously, almost everyone in that class was like an older lady. I'm talking about ladies in their 40s, 50s, and 60s, and I was like almost the only young male in the entire fucking classroom, but I fucking loved it. We had unlimited freedom. She didn't care what we drew. you know, again, she was just focused on teaching us just the proper mechanics of a basic piece of artwork, which is the composition, the color harmonies, the movement, etc. That's what she's focused on. And it was really cool of her to let me do a fucking report on Yoshitaka Amano. I took some of his artwork to class, and those elderly women in that class fucking loved it. They loved it to death. And that made me really happy that I was able to share something that seemed more unique to my own personal world, and to have it accepted by people I would never ever expect to accept. You know what I mean? It was a good feeling. Plus, she would let me bring music in sometimes and listen to some unique music as we did artwork, and that was really fucking cool of her. She is an old lady. I never expected her to think, you know, like Radiohead, for example. I remember taking Radiohead's Kid A album into class one night, and we listened to it, and it was actually well received, and it kind of blew my mind just a little tiny bit. What else can I rant? I mean, you're here because you want to see me do pixel art, but you don't want me to be quiet either. I mean, do you? I could shut the fuck up, I guess. I mean, what else could I talk about? I could talk about my distaste of NFTs. I mean, you don't really want to hear about that. I mean, I don't even really want to talk about it. I mean, it's just one of those things. Being a lifelong artist, the whole thing just really, really disgusts me, rubs me the wrong way. You know what I mean? It's like you basically have a piece of quote-unquote artwork, and I use that term loosely, and it's basically created through something of an automated process. And if my understanding of economics is correct, when something is created via an automated process, it lessens its value. So it really puzzles me how these people are convinced these NFTs are worth whatever millions of dollars or whatever. I mean, I haven't seen an attractive one yet. I mean, that stupid monkey, really? People like that? They want to see that on a fucking t-shirt? I think it's a disgusting looking thing. It's not cute. It has no meaning. It's just a big dumb monkey with a big dumb grin on its stupid fucking face. I mean, really? Is this what has come to be known as art these days? Is that my understanding? It's a frightening world to be a part of, my friends. I almost don't want to be a part of it, the world, but, you know, I'm not going to kill myself either. Because that's honestly a really stupid fucking idea. I hope nobody out there is feeling suicidal because of recent transgressions or whatever. Please don't think that way. Don't kill yourself. We all have a role to play here. You're just as valuable here as anyone else, so don't ever think less of yourself just because maybe you've convinced yourself you don't have any kind of viable talents or skills. Oh, you know, there's some I can talk about. That word talent, and I caught myself using it, which is a bad no-no for myself. I really should not have used that word. Let's talk about talent. That word seems to imply... God damn it. That word seems to imply that someone is born with some natural skill, whatever that is, whether it's art or music or whatever. Seems to imply that person was born that way. And I think even like people like Lady Gaga seem to perpetuate that idea. And I disagree. I don't think there is such a thing as talent. I don't think I was, for example, born to do art or make video games, music, or whatever it is that I fucking make. I think rather has more to do with I had an interest in those things. I had such an interest in those things that I pursued practicing them on a daily basis. And it just came to a point where I became, you know, good at it or good enough at it. I'm not going to sit here and claim that I'm a great artist or anything like that. I can't make such claims. I can only claim that sort of thing for other people. Like if I see your artwork and I think it's great, I'm going to fucking tell you about it, right? But I can't sit here and say, oh, I'm a great artist. Because, one, that's fucking ego. Should never let that thing get in your way. And for two, you know, things like art are just subject to interpretation anyways, right? So, I mean, who's the ultimate authority on what constitutes good or bad art in the end anyways? I don't think any of us have that fucking right. Okay. Yeah. This is pixel art, people. It's a slow process, one dot at a time. It's like pointillism, but it's in the fucking 21st fucking century or whatever fucking century this is. I don't even know anymore. What century is this? It's the century of the world fucking falling apart at the fucking seams. Alright, so do I got all of that shit fixed? No. Shit. Yeah, it's gonna be, you know, I'm not gonna waste too much of your time. I'm just gonna get to like a certain point and be like, okay, I've filmed enough. People are getting the gist of what I'm making. People have heard my stupid rants, etc. And what point that will be, I don't know. So you like this guy? He's, yeah. So he comes off of the full body of the creature, grows legs out of its fucking head, and this tongue comes out, and it has its own little face, kind of like in the Alien movies or whatever. He's just pissed off you ruined his fun, so he flips you the bird before he dies. Ha ha ha. Yeah, let's see here. Oh my god, let's see here. Alright, wait a minute. God dang it. That's not good. Alright. Now we're on our way. Alright. I mean, this is a big part of what I do throughout the... God damn it, really? Bill Gates, that could be avoided. And you... How hard is it to program zooming in one more increment or even two more increments? How hard is that really? I mean, if you're able to make the software zoom in at the point that it already does, that tells me that... Never mind. I'm fucking over it, I guess. Actually, I'm not over it. I'm just saying that I am so I can get on with life. Thinking about having this, yeah, on the underneath side. It's probably, god damn it. Constantly, all day long, this is what I do. I fucking place a dot, it goes in the right spot, and then I place another dot, it goes in the wrong spot, I have to undo. This is a never-ending vicious fucking cycle. I love it for the most part. Just like sometimes I wish. And just a little bit easier. Less time consuming. I mean, I really want to have this game done by the end of the year, or at least before I pass away. And sometimes it seems as if that's not gonna fucking happen. So, you know, what else can I talk about my game? We discuss the Saturnalian philosophies behind it. And there's things I could talk about, and they're on my mind right now, but I also don't want to spoil too much with the game. You know what I mean? Let's see, how do I put it? How can I put it where I don't spoil things, actually? Shit. The game has multiple endings. I guess I could say that. That's not a spoiler. I mean, that's just a game mechanic. I'm not going to give you the nature of those endings, though. That would be a spoiler. I mean, it would kind of defeat the purpose of playing the game a little bit, now wouldn't it? Just placing dots. Placing little dots of light. I guess one thing I've noticed, since I've been doing pixel art, so I'm something of a classically trained artist who's done paintings and drawings, particularly with Prismacolors and acrylic paint. One thing I've noticed that's radically different about pixel art, besides that you're drawing squares, which is awesome, is how colors are, like if you set a certain color pixel next to another pixel, it'll actually affect the color of that other pixel. It'll actually look different. So while this particular program has, what's 255 times 3? I can't do that kind of math in my head, but there's just like thousands of color combinations that are known and easily created by the user, but there's also the other colors that you're creating by accident because setting a pixel next to another one alters its color a little bit. And that's something I find extremely fascinating with pixel art. Okay, that's so far. All right, let's. Oh, by the way, if you're wondering what I'm inspired by, technically everything, especially shit from real life, but if you were to ask me that question, I imagine you probably desire an answer that's a little more forthwith understanding. So I guess in terms of pixel art, I'm probably most influenced by, Final Fantasy and Dragon Quest on one hand, and then games like Doom on another hand. By Doom, I mean the original one. I'm not talking about whatever Doom 3. I mean, yeah, it looks good, I guess, but that's not exactly my inspiration. So yeah, I'm using RPG Maker XP. Very limited program, and I chose it for a few reasons, and one of those reasons is I feel like I work better in limitations than without limitations. That's one reason. Also, because the battle system is, or at least the default battle system is first person, so when I started to create this game, my mind immediately asked a question, and that question was, alright, first person. What are some first person type games that I could draw some inspiration from? And the first thing that came to mind was Doom. I always liked the creature designs in that game. So if there's anything about my game, at least with the enemy graphics, that make you think of Doom, then, well, there you go. Your brain's working, my friend. It's totally, completely working. So that is kind of where I'm getting my inspiration from. I mean, we have creatures that are from another planet, in this case Saturn, so, I mean, yeah, best to play accordingly, I guess. It seems like I'm off. I'm a little sleep deprived. I've actually been sleep deprived for a month. I get like 3 or 4 hours of sleep at night, and I'm not 100% sure as to why that is the case. I know a part of it is I work a real job, and I don't really like the fact that I have to do that. I think it's fucking retarded. I think any creative mind out there that's creative and has really good ideas should not be wasting their energy working a job that could be, 1, easily automated, and 2, isn't for their own interest. I mean, I'm working for the profit of somebody else, and that's a waste of my skill and a waste of my energy, basically. For me to give my life over to this other person, I mean, if you think about it, it's actually slavery. A lot of people praise Lincoln, put him on a pedestal, like, he freed the slaves. It's like, well, did he? Or did he put things into place that transferred us from one form of slavery and into another, maybe more invisible form of slavery? That's how I look at it. I mean, we're still enslaved. They just replaced the whip cracks with debt and everything having a price tag. You follow me there? I hope so. I hope I'm not pissing anybody off. I'm just trying to be truthful with people. And unfortunately, that's something in this life I've found to be a great conundrum. I was lied to a lot as a kid, and I always question, why do people lie? And it took me most of my life to figure this out, but I think I finally figured out why it is people lie. And that's because the truth can just be completely unbearable, and that is certainly true with the truth of our, economic system, our government, etc., etc., etc. It actually makes perfect sense to me why people might lie. They want to protect you from the truth. And I mean, that sounds good on paper and all, but do we really grow being lied to in such a manner? Yeah, listen to me rant. Brennan, shut the fuck up. You're thinking too much. You're being too deep. Speaking of which, notice there's something of an agenda against thinking. A mantra that people tend to perpetuate is the mantra of, you're overthinking, you're thinking too much. And I'm like, well, really? Am I thinking too much? Or is there basically people out there who don't want us to think too much? Because if we do, we might accidentally figure things out they don't want us to figure out, kind of a thing. So me, I'm a huge pusher of think more. There is no such thing as thinking too much. Maybe in the realm of dating, that might be true. You know, if you overthink a date before you go out on it, I can see how you might sabotage yourself. But when it comes to everything else, I don't think there is such thing as overthinking. If you're getting questions in your head regarding our way of life here, etc., those questions are probably coming into your mind for a good reason, and maybe you shouldn't ignore those. By all means, embrace that shit, my friends, my brothers, my sisters. I guess I could talk a little bit about the whole MGTOW thing. If you're not sure what that is, that's men going their own way. It's basically men getting organized in a sense that they collectively lick each other's wounds regarding their bad experiences with women, and they encourage other men to not get involved with them. And there's a part of me that feels a little inclined to agree, because I've certainly had my fair share of bad experiences with, love and dating, etc. So on one hand, okay, that would make perfect sense. Yay for them. They're clearly thinking and everything. But I have to disagree with it a little bit, and that's just from a personal experience of mine. Basically in 2012, I had what people would refer to as a near-death experience. And during this near-death experience, I basically encountered a being so I'm an atheist at the time. So for me to call this being God is kind of an oxymoron, I guess. Because I didn't really believe in God at the time, especially. But I encountered this being, and I become receptive to it, and I listen to it. It speaks to me. This being tells me, and it wasn't my time, which wasn't that obvious to me. I actually thought I was a complete fucking goner. She explained to me she understood why it was I was there, and then she told me I have to be sent back to my body, but don't forget to love people. And yeah, people, that's a plural word. That's plural. People, that means all people. Men and women, both alike. And I tell you what, that's like one of the most difficult fucking things you can do. I'm not fucking exaggerating in the slightest. I've done, ever since that happened in 2012, I've done my goddamn best to love people to the best of my ability, and oh my god, is it ever so difficult, because I've been so wronged by so many people who I thought were friends, etc. And listen to me rant on here. To unconditionally love all people might very well be the most difficult thing anyone could ever take on. And I've tried to take this on, I've done the best that I can, but ultimately it's like I almost can't do it. I mean, look at me. Here I am, game developer, and I made this game, and a big part of what's in my game is something like my inner cartoonist. So if you're a person I know and you've been a benefit to my life, you've been portrayed in my game in a positive light, my friend. You're in there somewhere. Even if it's just a small way, you are fucking in there somewhere, right? But if you're one of those people who has wronged me, and trust me, those people number in a plenty, right? You're in my game too, but you're not painted in a positive light. It's almost like I view putting people into a cartoon, for example, or my game, in this case, is my form of revenge. If you wronged me, you're in my game for a reason. And that's because I'm getting my revenge on you in that way. That might sound sick to some, and maybe it is sick, but you know what? We're all human beings. And even the nicest people in the world are capable of showing you the greatest of compassion, and also capable of showing you, you know, the worst side that humanity can possibly offer. I would like to claim that I'm perfect, but I'm not. I try to be as good as I can. I actually try to help a lot of people out. And if you're one of my Twitter people, you may have witnessed that firsthand. You know, I may have sent you a direct message giving you some form of advice, maybe. And if I've done this, that means I actually do genuinely care. And that's most likely because I've probably been in a similar spot as you in this life. You know, I've experienced a lot of horrible things. It doesn't mean my life is bad or anything like that. I think it's part of our experience here. I think we're supposed to experience bad things to a certain degree, and that again ties into that whole weird Saturnalian philosophy that I would just love to fucking disagree with. I would just love to. Part of me envisions a world where pain and suffering just aren't a thing, but then I have to really sit back and ask myself an important question. It's like, well, should it really be that way? I mean, yeah, it'd be paradise in a sense, but would that really benefit us? I mean, think about evolution. Let's pretend for a moment evolution is a true, real thing. Would humans have evolved to this point if it wasn't for the suffering they endured in, you know, whatever ancient times, and where that suffering was unable to find food, that sort of thing? Don't you think maybe our species got to where it is because of the pain and suffering it had to endure? Maybe not. Maybe I'm a dumbass and I'm just completely fucking wrong about everything. I wouldn't be surprised. Our school system certainly tried to convince me that I'm wrong. So get this. When I went to school, I actually did want to learn. I wasn't interested in the popularity contest. I wasn't fucking interested in winning sports games and, you know, that sort of thing. I was actually legitimately interested in learning things because I thought it was going to help me build a better future for myself. So I think it's like the 10th grade. I was taking an American history class. So this class focused on, you know, the narrative of America's history or whatever. And so we got done studying like the Civil War and like World War I and World War II and all that shit. And our teacher told us, all right, well, okay, so you don't need to read chapter 12 in the textbook. Don't read it. Don't waste your time. Don't read it. That's what he told us. Don't read chapter 12. I'm guessing most of my classmates adhere to this because they associate learning with boring tedium or something like that. So I imagine those people probably skipped that chapter on purpose because they didn't want to learn. Me, I wanted to learn. So I'm like, okay, well, what's so bad about this fucking chapter 12? So I ended up reading chapter 12. Funny how it was chapter 12, right? Anyway, in this chapter, it was the whole Federal Reserve Bank coming into being was a huge focus of that. And not only that, another focus of it was how basically the landowners, you know, the owners of corporations during that time, you know, think like Rothschilds and Rockefellers and Morgans and, you know, all those families. I'm sure you've heard about these families and, you know, probably a conspiracy theory video or whatever. And basically that chapter talked about how like sometime during the 50s, I think. I could be wrong about that. Maybe it was the 40s. It doesn't matter. It was sometime during back then. They put their money and resources together and they acquired the public school system. So prior to that time, the public school system was actually public. But once they acquired it, they had some control over it. And a part of that control involved, basically adding to what we would call today's curriculum. It's like, okay, teachers can talk about this, but not that. Don't awaken people. Keep them indoctrinated. Keep them thinking in a hive mind sort of set, etc. And that was an eye-opening thing to me. And I also talked about some other things. I talked about the implementation of planned obsolescence. If you're not familiar with that term, that is basically companies that produce goods and services for us make the goods and services bad on purpose because it'll increase profits. If you're forced to buy a cell phone more than one time, then the cell phone company makes more money off of you. It was implemented basically to save our stupid monetary economy, right? I remember going to class the next day. I raised my hand and I asked the teacher, I was like, no, wait a minute, this planned obsolescence thing sounds like a bad idea to me. I mean, is our planet not a finite planet with like finite resources and shit? Aren't we wasting our resources by putting this into practice? And he got quite upset with me. He told me, he was like, how dare you question it? And he wound up sending me to the principal's office where I got a lecture on, listen to my stupid teacher, blah, blah, blah. Years and years and years later, I finally figured out this teacher, whom I actually kind of respected at the time. Turns out he's a fucking Freemason, so maybe those conspiracy theories aren't so theoretical after all, huh? Yeah. Hey, I'm turning my video game pixel art channel and whatever into a fucking conspiracy theory fucking thing, but take from it what you will. I mean, if you want to be one of those troll type people who are like, you're lying, because I've had people tell me that before. It's like, you know what? Maybe I don't care about you either. Maybe the time has come for you to, I don't know, care about yourself. Because I don't have the energy to care about everyone. I try to, but I can tell you what. It takes a lot of fucking energy to care about everyone. Especially when they don't give a flying fuck about you or the fact that you care about them. Alright, so if I ever come off as prickly, like a prickly pear, then maybe that is just a sign that, you know what, I fucking had it. I'm tired of sticking my neck out for people. You wanna thrive and care and be cared about, then maybe that's on your shoulders, buddy. Maybe you should start caring about yourself. 'Cause maybe I don't have the fucking energy to do it anymore. I'm fucking 43 years old now. I work a job I don't want to work. It takes me out of my creativity, for one. For two, it's an extremely exhausting job. I don't know if you've ever been a dishwasher / bus boy / janitor before, but I can tell you this much. In a fast-paced environment where people are ordering food and porking out on fucking food, that is hard to do. Like, my entire body fucking just hurts. Like, literally all the time. Every muscle in my body hurts. And I was like, I can't fucking take it anymore. And my mom complains about the same thing. It's like, I totally get it. Totally get it. Completely and totally fucking get it. You're not crazy if you hate your job. You're a slave if you hate your job. If I could make money off of what I'm doing right now, if I could figure out how to do that, I'd be more set than I am now. The only problem is I get paid in compliments. I don't get paid in money. I've spent literally a lifetime having people tell me, your art's so great. Oh my God, it's so great. And they'll ask me, why aren't you rich and famous? I'm like, I could explain why, but I'm not going to. Why do you think I'm not rich and famous? They're like, dude, I'll give you $40 for that painting. And I'll be like, it cost me $60 to make that painting. Now do you understand why I'm not quote unquote rich and famous? And that's a big part of the reason there, my friends. Remember, if you truly love an artist and you value their work, actually act like you value their work. Don't offer them $40 for something that took them 2 weeks to create and $60 in resources to fucking create. Please. Show them respect. At least introduce them to one of your rich friends who might actually be willing to give them a vast sum of money for their work. That would fucking help them out quite a bit. Alright, so I'm going to zoom out here. Let's see what we got going on here. I'm happy with how that looks. So what we need to do now is a whole little copy, paste, fucking, yeah. What I like about pixel art, you can cheat. You can cheat, motherfucker. Cheat like a motherfucker. Yeah. Let's see here. Alright, that looks like that's symmetrical. So I'm going to do this first. Flip horizontal. That looks right. Right? That looks left, right? Alright, so we're going to... Now we need to... There we go. Alright. Copy, paste, flip. Just save myself plenty of fucking time. Wait a minute, is that... That looks right. Alright. Hey, well, we're like almost mostly done with this fucking guy. How long of a video do we got now? What do we got going on here? 46 minutes? Well, you know what? I think that's probably long enough for a cute little pixel art video. I thank you for joining me. If you enjoyed my company, you know, feel free to comment. Rap with me. Bounce ideas off of me. I'm actually a friendly guy. I love talking, especially if it's, you know, big picture type ideas and not like, here's the weather today. If you're talking about the weather and what movie you saw, I'm probably not going to be that vested. What are you going to say? Sorry, nothing against you. I just hate Hollywood. Anyways, thanks for joining me. Thanks for enjoying my pixel art. And have a good day. Peace and love. All that shit. Good night.